It's what's in your wallet.
I'm so old.
I'm going to give it a 1 out of 5 explosive hot dog carts.
Ritualistic blood magic.
Laser shooting chesty statues.
Don't watch movies unless we tell you to. What's up, fam? This is Movies with my best friend Phil. Phil here, CEO of hosting It's Giving Podcast. It's Giving Movies. Here, we spill tea on the flicks you love, no cap. I'm your host, Phil, joined, as always, by two of my very best friends. Starting with, he's a little sus, but we stand him anyways. It's Will Chodas!
Is this you now?
Yeah.
Is this who you are?
I'm doing a thing where, like, I'm trying to appeal to the younger crowd.
You're trying to be the worst person imaginable?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. No, I get that. That's definitely how to get more listeners, not alienate people. I'm down with that.
Yeah, no,
I'm down with that. I've been doing it my whole life.
Yeah. We are also joined by Craig Norland. Sheesh. What's up, Craig?
Hey, so you're a truck daddy and now you're I don't know, are you a Gen Z?
Yeah.
Trying to
I'm the main character.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Are we
I'm
just
God,
NPCs?
for real.
What I'm learning is that
no.
Phil needs some friends out there in Colorado, and he's lonely and just amusing himself with nonsense. That's what I am learning.
Me? You know what amuses me, guys?
What?
We've got a big W for the podcast today. Special guest, Zach Demers.
Hi, guys.
Hey.
Oh, hey. I didn't see you there.
Oh, hi.
Yeah.
What's your views on me using Gen Z slang?
I think it's cool.
Thank you.
Oh.
I was going to say Liddy, but then I was told that that's not what the kids say anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know they were saying that in the first place. Good to know.
It's possible they weren't.
Oh.
I don't know if you know this. I'm not a Gen Zer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Well,
You're not hip?
Well, I didn't say that.
yeah, there's you don't have to be.
I like cool stuff.
So Zach, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, man. If it's okay, real quick, I've prepared an opening statement.
Oh,
perfect.
Wow, this is the first time, and I'm excited for it. This is the first time, honestly, anybody's ever prepared anything for this podcast.
Do you know how long it took me to write the intro today? Like 3 minutes. That's more work than I've put into anything.
The fact
ever.
that you wrote that down is sad. Okay.
I just wanted it to be really special for you guys.
Okay.
Anyways. Zach, go
Thank
for
you.
it.
Merriam-Webster's dictionary defines the word movie as a showing of a motion picture. I, however, would choose to define it with one simple word: magic. I want to thank Will, Craig, and my 100% canonical best friend Phil for having me on and giving me the opportunity to share with your listeners something that is desperately needed these days in this crazy, divided, mixed up world of ours. Another random asshole's opinion.
Woo! Very nice.
Oh man.
Well stated. So you better keep up the good content from here, because the bar has now been set very high.
It's all downhill.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's the story of my life. A couple minutes in and it's just like, what are we doing anymore?
That was all the energy I
Brilliant.
had. So Zach, I asked this of all of our guests. I just, I think it's a pretty deep and insightful question. I just want to know
why Craig?
What? I just want to know, do you like movies?
Movies are cool, man.
Yeah.
I like them.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I was a big movie buff in high school. Fell off of it after I graduated college a little bit, and then just kind of got back into it a few years ago, hard and heavy, and I've been enjoying it. I missed it.
Yeah. Okay. No follow-ups.
Okay. What? Yeah, no follow-up. Okay, so you had a little break. What was like your genre before or your genre after? Like, what has your taste changed since that break?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I used to be high school. I was your dumb teenage kid, action movies, James Bond, that sort of thing. These days, it's action movies, James Bond, and Barbie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
that's
Will.
real growth.
Wearing the old sweatshirt.
Yep.
Sweater?
It's
Sweatshirt?
it's a I don't know.
Snuggie?
It's a pullover. I don't know. It's
Full
a hoodie.
coverage Snuggie.
Yeah. It's I have the I'm Knuff
I didn't even realize that. until
sweater
just now.
from-
That's great.
from the Barbie movie. Yeah, that
It's probably because the mic blocks it. So from
Yeah.
my point of view, it says am uff.
right. I'm also Amuff.
I would agree with that.
All right. So, well, I'm glad you're here to talk to us about movies because we really do need another another white guy's opinion to really round out our show, I guess. But no, would you consider yourself like a movie person? Are you like a trivia person or like somebody who like follows Oscars, or are you just like sort of like, yes, I like movies?
Vibes guy.
Because I don't think anybody in the world doesn't like movies, you know?
Yeah. I like more than your average moviegoer, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe. I like, I follow directors, release dates, that sort of thing. I'm big into horror these days. That's something I didn't used to watch when I was younger.
Yeah. Very cool. What's what's your favorite genre then? Or is that just
Weird.
an asinine question? I think it is.
I don't really have one.
Yeah.
It's just, a good movie is a good movie, in my
That's
opinion.
true. That is exactly correct. I actually hate questions about people's preferences in movies. I get why people ask them now, because now that I'm got somebody on a podcast, I'm like, what the hell are we going to, how am I going to get them to talk about things without asking these asinine questions? But I do hate them because it does sort of like feel like you feel pigeonholed because you're like people are like, what's your favorite movie? And I'm always like, well, what kind of information are you trying to glean from this question? You know what I mean?
I like all movies except for country movies, basically.
Okay. Oh, that's oh man, we're coming in hot tonight. This is good.
All right. Well, I think, gosh, I think now is the point of the time when we usually get to something else.
Wait,
What is
before you go into that,
Yeah?
Zach, I do have a quick question for you.
Mhm.
There is a fee for appearing on this podcast, and it's not one that we pay you. It's one that you pay us. So
That's
if
right.
you could grab whatever, I don't want to say device, whatever receptacle you keep your money in, and then hand us through the internet the amount we agreed upon and you sign the contract, that would be great. And then if you could describe what receptacle you're keeping your money in.
Yeah. What are those things usually called? That's oh gosh, I can't quite remember. Craig, do you know? You're shaking your head. You're nodding emphatically like you do know what it is.
I still hate this so much.
I'm so
old. Shut up. Every single episode, we have to talk about, what's a wallet for like 10
that's
minutes.
right.
Oh, it's a wallet.
It's a segment where we reach
God damn
deep
it.
into our best friend's pants and whip out some recommendations. It's what's in your wallet.
Oh, man. That was a good one.
Well, I think it's only proper that our guest, Zach, should go first.
Or if he wants to, he may
Or
go
last.
last.
Yeah.
It's your choice.
No middle ground, though.
No middle ground. You can't go in the middle, though.
No.
That's where I like to live.
Can't do that.
I'll go last.
There you go. See?
All right.
Perfect.
So, Phil, what you got?
Me?
Yeah.
Me? So very often I will Google cosmic horror movies because I can never remember the list of movies that I'm like, oh, I'd like to see that. And so I'm kind of I'll Google it every once in a while, and then I'll start working my way through that list. And I got 2 of them in the last week and a half, and then I started another one, but I still got a half hour left. I had to stop it, which I absolutely hate. I hate watching movies in chunks. Anyways, the 2 I watched, I'm doing a double feature because neither of these were particularly amazing, but I enjoyed parts of both of them, and I enjoyed one of them a whole lot more than the other one. Starting with the one I enjoyed less, it's called The Deep Ones. It is H.P. Lovecraft adaptation, or it's based on The Shadow over Innsmouth.
Okay.
It's okay. So the acting, not great. The general plot, okay though. It was a little freaky. They had some really good scenes, that were like pretty unsettling, which was pretty good. It's the classic like couple goes to place seems nice, and then turns out it's a Stepfordy cult. Even though this one's not Stepfordy, they just make that reference. It's a much creepier cult, and there's a lady with tentacles that come out of her stuff. She's pregnant, and she's pregnant with a Cthulhu baby. It's not Cthulhu. I think it's Dagon. Either way,
Yeah.
it's not an amazing movie, but I would recommend watching it because there are some scenes that are pretty good. My second in the double feature is Black Mountainside.
You guys keep doing this. It's not recommendations. It's
okay,
what
but here's the thing: is I don't feel like the deep ones is strong enough for a singular, and I don't feel like Black Mountainside it's like 80% of the way there. So I feel like I don't want to rob our listeners of my taste.
Yeah,
you know?
that's really.
Because
You're right.
I am a taste maker.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I wasn't thinking of our listeners when I was thinking about the tediousness of this segment.
Yeah. I'm like Willy Wonka, but with movies that literally no one who listens to this show is ever going to watch, except for Brad watched one that I recommended.
Oh, good for Brad.
So, there's that. That was a win for me. That was a good get. Black Mountainside is cooler. I think it's better. It's Canadian. They're in like the Arctic. They uncover like a weird structure, and then everything at this camp starts to go really, really wrong. This one was much more, I think better crafted for sure.
Wait, this is just the thing.
Aren't all cosmic horror movies after The Thing kind of just The Thing? A little bit.
Yeah.
It's just so perfect. Yeah, no, it's tough because this whole genre, I always compare it to like 3 movies that are really, really good, and none of them live up to those, but I still really enjoy the genre, so I can't stop. It's like you had a steak once, and then you keep going to like McDonald's, and you're like, this isn't it, but it's like a shadow of it, and I'll take it because there's nothing else.
Well, what are those 3 cosmic horror movies that you like?
I really liked Event Horizon. You guys know that. I mention it every other episode, probably. Let me pull up the list. I like Color Out of Space. I've only seen the newest, the Nick Cage one. The Ritual, I loved. The Endless. I watched In the Mouth of Madness. I really enjoyed it.
That's a good one.
Pandorum gets put on the list, and I feel like it fits, but kind of only halfway. But I really like that movie. And then I recommended this. I had watched it over, I don't know, sometime last year. The Void. I can't stop thinking about that movie. It was like The Thing, but updated.
Okay.
Creature feature, really, really cool. Very small setting. They're in like 4 rooms total, and then the exterior of a hospital. So it's got that really like tense, closed in feel to the whole movie. And then the end is just weird. So it's great. So I'm going to keep going on this journey of cosmic horror. And that's that. That's all. That's what I got. So Craig.
Yeah.
What's in your wallet?
Okay, so mine'll be short and sweet. I won't double down this time.
Lame.
So
We'll see.
Mine's a game. Yeah, shut up. Mine is a game called Yoku's Island Express.
You mean Yoshi's Cookie Island?
No, unfortunately not.
Oh.
It's on the Switch. I played it on Steam, on my Steam Deck, over the weekend, and so it's a nice, short and sweet game. It's a Metroidvania, which, if you don't know what that is, it's like the style of Castlevania and Metroid, where it's a lot of exploring and doubling back so you can open up previously closed off areas, There's leveling up. It depends on which, if it's Castlevania, you might have some leveling up in certain ways. But this one's a little bit unique because it takes that exploration concept, but then it adds in pinball. So if you really like pinball, or you like Sonic Spinball, that game that I'm sure everyone played, not just me, on the Genesis. It's a lot like that, except much more polished, and it's really fun.
How similar is the pinball part to the Space Cadet pinball game that was like default on Windows?
What they did is they just took the Space Cadet, they just copy pasted it, and like put it in a bunch of different rooms.
Exactly.
So it's the same thing over and over again. Yep.
Beautiful.
Yep.
How does it hold up to Pokemon Pinball? Anyone else play that one?
I did.
I did not.
Didn't it come with like a battery on the back? Wasn't it like huge? Anyone else?
I don't remember.
It was for the Game Boy Color, right? Zach, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Is that like Sonic Spinball?
No, Pokemon Pinball.
Oh, okay.
Okay, well, never mind.
Pokemon Sonic Ball.
Yeah. So it doesn't take very long to complete, but it's just a fun game. So yeah, check it out.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Will.
Yeah, what's up?
You're next.
For what?
For the segment that we do.
Oh, right, yeah. I was supposed to bring something, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have something.
No, I have something.
It's fine, too. It'll just be really embarrassing.
Yeah, no, I have something. So, by the time this comes out, this will be like way in the past, but 2 weekends ago, I went and saw Queen Rock Montreal in IMAX. Yeah, which is a recording of a concert that Queen did with Freddie Mercury. So this was, what year was this? 1981 for their The Game tour. I don't know how people... I don't know if anybody like watches old rock and roll concerts, but if they do, I highly recommend checking out any of Queen's rock and roll concerts. They're pretty good. This one I hadn't actually seen before, even though it did come out so what's weird is it came out they recorded it in 1981, obviously, but they didn't release it as anything until 2007, which was kind of weird. And then they've just recently re-released the video part of it, the movie essentially, in IMAX for like 1 weekend, because Brian May and Roger Taylor have basically made the second part of their career making as much money off the first part of their career as possible. I was like looking at like Queen albums. I was just like kind of curious of like the discography, the order of things, because I had kind of forgotten. And like past Freddie Mercury's death, it's like Queen compilation 5, Queen compilation this, like Queen revisited at the BBC, Queen revisited. It's like, oh boy, guys, like one a year they released new stuff. Not new stuff, old stuff as new.
Is there a movie version of when they played at Wimbledon?
Wimbledon?
Yeah.
Do you mean live at Wembley?
No, Wimbledon.
Oh, no.
Oh,
what's Wimbledon?
The tennis game.
Oh yeah. You mean when Queen played? Oh, that's right. I was getting confused. When they did that doubles match, with
they had all their instruments.
It was them and Wham, right? Yeah, it was Queen versus Wham.
Yeah,
it's kind of weird because it was a little old versus new. Yeah, no, I don't have that one. I do have I have Live at Wembley Stadium, but no, I guess I missed the Live at Wimbledon. So
that's my preferred. But
yeah.
I mean, to each their own, I guess.
I also have the Live Aid DVD where they were on that I bought, and I only watched the Queen segment, and I was like, why did I buy this? What a waste.
Because it helps out a cause.
Sure.
Maybe.
But yeah, no. Yeah. So my recommendation is that everyone get into a time machine, go back in time and go see a movie that released for only one weekend by the time you hear this 4 weekends ago. So, yeah. I'm really nailing
Done.
this segment. Yeah.
Well, but here's the thing, though. If somebody's listening to this and they did go see it,
yeah.
they're going to be like so hyped.
Yeah. I'm sure.
Essentially, when you go back to listen to it, to like edit it, you're going to be so hyped that somebody else saw it.
It was funny because it was just, it was, my wife and I went, Caitlin and I went, and it was just like us and a bunch of other boomers who, like, as we were leaving, they were all just like complaining I was like, oh man, that was super fun, and they're all just like, wow, it was really very loud. And someone was like, I thought it was going to be more like I was at the concert. Like, I was thinking it was just going to be like just a view from the audience of the stage. Like you're at a concert. And I was like, what a world this guy must live in. Like, what?
That's not how concert movies work. That's also like never how they've worked.
Yeah,
except for like in the 40s.
Yeah, it was like, who
it was
would
just
want
a swing
that?
band.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, that was fun. All right, so that means it's time for the greatest recommendation that we've ever had.
The GOAT.
Yeah, on this podcast. Zach, what'd you bring?
No pressure.
No, tons of pressure. All of the pressure.
I have a TV show.
Oh, wow.
To share.
I thought you meant you have a TV show.
Do?
I was like, this is
Oh
news.
man, so cool.
I do not. I did not make this one. It's called Joe Parrott Talks to You.
Oh.
I'm about 5 years late to the game on this one, but I just started watching it. 3 seasons, maybe 9 episodes per season. I've got like 5 left. This show is fantastic. For the uninitiated, it's a comedian by the name of Joe Parrott. He kind of plays this very calm, boring, grandfatherly character. And each episode, he kind of does a deep dive on a topic, sort of like a Mr. Rogers style. He lives in Marquette, Michigan.
I've been there.
Yeah. So think of like Marquette, as exciting as Marquette is, and transfer that to a TV show. And that's the vibe. And it's fantastic.
I gotta watch this.
So you brought it up to me, and so I started watching it. The first episode is about rocks.
Yeah.
And he's just
rocks.
trying to give a presentation, and these people barge in. They're trying to buy his house because somebody stuck a for sale sign. And so he lets them like tour his house, and the whole time he's holding rocks in his hands. Like the whole episode, I think he has the rock in his hand. He hasn't put it down. So it's very unusual, but it is very, very funny.
It's very, very funny. It's very sweet. There's kind of an overarching story that happens, very slowly and incrementally. And at its core, it's just a show about just slowing down and appreciating the smaller things in life. And it might be seriously the most beautiful show I've ever watched.
Oh man, this sounds great.
Check it out if you haven't.
This sounds like
it's on Adult Swim, you said?
It was on Adult Swim, yeah.
Looks like it's streaming on HBO.
Yeah.
Max. Sorry. I'm like Max. 4 iterations late on that.
Yeah.
I'm still using the HBO Go app, so that's my thing.
All right, so we watched a movie.
Yeah, I was trying desperately to come up with a segue for this one.
The show that you've mentioned, Zach, seems like something I would love to watch after watching something dark and weird. And I did happen to watch something kind of dark and weird recently. We all did.
All right, that's right. We watched a movie. We watched Blue Velvet, which is a 1986 American neo-noir mystery thriller film written and directed by David Lynch. It's starring Kyle MacLachlan, Isabella Rossellini, Dennis Hopper. I don't know why I pronounced that way.
Jeez.
For the rest of the episode, you have to pronounce it that way.
Dennis Hopper, Laura Dern, Hope Lange, George Dickerson and Dean Stockwell. It's 120 minutes long, $6 million budget. It made $8.6 million at the box office. How do you guys think this did on Rotten Tomatoes, Craig?
Yeah, it kind of adjusts itself. I'd say at the time it would have been probably like a 72. And now I would say it's probably closer to a 94.
Ooh. What do you think, Zach?
So like Craig said, it depends on how you aggregate it, right? Because when it came out, it was pretty divisive.
Right.
And it's since gained that cult following.
So I just go off the Rotten Tomatoes current website. So that would be whatever, like it's also includes,
So I'm going to guess right now it's sitting at, I'll say 83.
What about you, Philip My Cup Kessel?
Let me think. We got an 83. Craig, what'd you say? 94?
Yep.
Okay. Let's see if I can
Thread the needle.
unlock my Riz on this one. And I'm going to say 91.
Oh, so
if you know, you know.
Yeah, so close. Craig has it 95 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Ooh.
With an 88 audience score. So, Craigerton, this was your turn to pick a movie. Why this movie?
So I was shown this movie for the first time, I'd say about a year ago, maybe 2 years. And it was by Zach himself that showed it to me.
Zach who?
No, I don't remember that.
What's he up to? We should get him on the podcast
these days.
Yeah.
Is there a reason I'm here, guys?
Oh, right. That's Zach.
Just kind of walked in. I don't know.
Yeah.
I accidentally clicked on this link.
It was just sent to me in my email. I click anything.
Oh,
yeah.
You should stop.
You heard it here first. Send Zach any email you want.
That is a bad policy.
I'll click it though.
Yeah. So back in college, Zach and I were roommates, and he introduced me to David Lynch. My first film of his was Eraserhead, which is a interesting way of getting into David Lynch. Point of entry for me. And then after that, I watched Twin Peaks and quickly became, I wouldn't say one of my favorite directors, but
you stand
I'm
him.
I do stand him. I'm always very interested to watch all his movies. We've been slowly getting through them. We're going to go see Dune. It's going to be in theaters later this month, so we're going to go see that because I think Zach has not seen it yet, and so that should be interesting. But yeah, it's Blue Velvet is probably one of his least weird films, and that's going to sound very strange to a lot of people, but it gets a lot weirder than that. I just like this movie a lot. I think there's it's definitely divisive. It's a little jarring. So I think that it's good for a film to make you look inside sometimes and question just if you're always doing the right thing or not. So anyway.
If you don't get shook, you can't slay, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
No. All right. So, but yeah, no. So Craig, you invited Zach because Zach is the resident David Lynch expert. Is that what I'm hearing? You know everything there is to know about David Lynch. Is that?
I will
are
happily
David Lynch?
be your David Lynch correspondent.
There we go. Okay.
Yes.
So, well, we can go through about how we felt about this movie. Zach, would you like to go first and kind of set the stage for why you like this movie, or would you like to go last to rebuttal or rebuke? Or you could always it's up
I
to
can
you.
go first this time.
Yeah, that sounds great.
I like this movie a lot.
Yeah.
It's just I'm into weird, creative things in general. David Lynch is my favorite film director of all time. This was probably, I want to say, the first movie I ever saw of his after watching Twin Peaks, which is kind of my gateway into his world. And I just think it's a very unique viewing experience. I think Dennis Hopper is goddamn amazing in this movie. It's thematically, it's about things that really strike a chord with me, which we can get into.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I like this movie a lot.
Yeah. And so I saw it with both you guys. Phil wasn't there for some reason.
I was.
And I had never seen this movie. Craig, you had seen this before. You already mentioned that. And I knew what I was getting into because I knew who David Lynch was, and I had seen, I think, a season and a half of Twin Peaks. I fell off on Twin Peaks because, well, I won't say anymore because if you haven't seen it before, you should.
If you know, you know.
Yeah, you know. Anyways, and I really liked this movie. I found myself like, I feel like if I had seen this at another point in my life, I could see myself hating it. You know, like I could see myself like not getting what it was trying to. Well, not that it was. That's the thing with this movie is I don't know if it's trying to tell me something necessarily, and I think David Lynch has said so much that he doesn't like so much of like movies that like he's like not trying to tell you something necessarily. There's not something you're supposed to get from it. But I don't know. I really enjoyed this movie. It was an interest. It to me is like it made me go like wait a minute. Do I like art films? I thought I hated art films. I thought I hated these, but I'm like I kind of liked this one. And I can get into like why I felt like it really connected with me. If we want, if other people want to jump in or we want to do, Phil, do you want to get your opinions in here or Craig? Did you have something?
I mean, I kind of already said my piece on it. So, I think, we can end on Phil and kind of go through the plot after that.
Yeah. So I have a mixed assortment, a mixed bag of feelings about this. And I think that's, Will, you said art film. And that kind of is like, we are in that territory of like, there are some art films I really, really like that I've seen. And there are some that I'm like, I totally get what's going on, but I don't know if it's for me. And I still don't know where I've landed on this one.
Yeah.
There were some moments where I was like, big yikes. And then there were some moments where I was like, this is bussin'.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just, it's all over the place. I think overall, looking at it, I can see why people love this movie. I can see what is trying to be said. And I feel like it's done really, really well. And there are some really weird, fun moments. And Dennis Hopper is absolutely unhinged. I don't know if it was my choice. I will say I do want to watch more from David Lynch. And I feel like that is enough of like, this movie's got some drip,
Okay, are you going to do this the whole time?
No, this is him.
Oh, yeah.
This is him now. This is what he is.
This
is what he's like.
Me.
So just kind of bouncing off what Phil said. This was a big reason I picked this too, is I don't think that the general movie-going person is going to willfully go and seek out a David Lynch movie. I think it's something that has to be kind of recommended to them, and it's not always going to be an easy thing. But like I said, I think this is a easier film to view than some of his other works. A lot of people have seen Twin Peaks. I don't think all of his people would watch any of his other movies besides maybe like The Straight Story or Dune or The Elephant Man. But yeah, it's just, again, just trying to put something different out there than normal.
It's interesting that you picked the weird one and not me. I mean, my next one is going to alienate some people, but like that's my brand on this show.
That's what we're doing now, I guess.
Listen, if you're not trying to get people to listen, I don't know where I was going with that.
Right, yeah, because that's not what you're trying to do.
No, God no.
So essentially,
should I do a little background into the movie itself, like getting into it, or should we go through the plot first?
I mean, a lot of the backgrounds were just like cityscapes and
It's true.
apartments.
Yeah.
God damn it.
houses.
Yeah, on location stuff. I don't think it was
Yeah.
any of it was like backdrops or anything, if that's what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe the field at the beginning. That might not have been there.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah.
Might have
yeah.
been green screen.
Well, there was that big blue backdrop at the very beginning and at the end. You could probably call that a backdrop.
yeah.
I don't, What was that made out of? Blue tinfoil? I was like, it didn't look like blue velvet to me. It seemed like, where are we doing? What are we doing? You're already lying to me, David Lynch. What are we doing? This has been Curtains with your best friend Will.
Yeah, all day, every day. Yeah. What do you have? Are you talking like making of? Are you going to give us a VH1 Inside the Hits? I can't remember what the show's called.
Definitely
just
inside the
real-
hits.
Yeah, pop-up video.
Yeah. Just real quick. So David Lynch at this point had made Eraserhead, Elephant Man, which was a more Eraserhead is more of his art house film that got people talking, and then Mel Brooks had him do Elephant Man, which was more commercial of a film, and so he got some Oscar nominations for that.
Massive critical acclaim.
Yeah. And then he's offered the chance to direct Return of the Jedi, and he turns it down. And instead, he picks another space opera to do, and that's Dune, which at that point was considered unfilmable. And some people would say it was still unfilmable. So huge, a lot of studio oversight with Dune. It kind of ruined him for working with big studios. And it ended up bombing, and nobody really liked it. So he was persona non grata at that point. But fortunately for him, he still had to end with the producer of Dune, which was Dino De Laurentiis, very prolific Italian producer who gave him a chance with a very small budget and let him have final cut, which was extremely rare. He couldn't even put it down on paper officially because he didn't want every other director to want final cut. So he basically said, I'm going to shake your hand and I'm going to let you have final cut. So gave him a lot more freedom. So I think if he didn't have that, and as far as Lynch was concerned, this was his last shot. Like, if this was his last movie, then he was going to do the kind of movie he wanted to do. He wasn't going to do another Dune. So that's kind of the background of why this turns out the way that it is, and knowing that, this movie did not play well to preview audiences, but he had the support of De Laurentiis saying, we're not going to cut anything. Because, some people in the test audiences were saying that David Lynch should be killed for releasing this movie.
That.
So
I think the exact quote on one of the cards was David Lynch should be shot.
Yes, exactly.
which isn't necessarily as bad as being killed, depending on where you shoot him. So,
Yeah,
I think it's pretty gracious.
Yeah. See, it's kind of a kind.
They could have said yeet him off a building, and they didn't.
Mostly because that wasn't really in the vernacular at the time.
No.
Yeah. So, Zach, do you want to give us a bit of a sort of a outline of what this movie is about? To just sort of like, in case people are, haven't seen it in a while or want to see it and want to know what exactly we're talking about. Do you think you could do that? Or should I throw that to somebody else?
Yeah, you want like a plot summary?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Okay. Kyle MacLachlan plays this college kid by the name of Jeffrey. His dad has some sort of medical emergency, heart attack, maybe.
Attacked by ants, possibly.
Possibly. So he comes home, back home to take care of his mom and his dad. Is walking out in a field, finds a severed ear.
Yeah.
Randomly in a field. Picks it up.
Like you do.
And right. And from there, it's basically the movie's just him trying to figure out where this ear came from.
Yeah. So
satisfying his morbid curiosity.
Yeah, satisfying is his. So it's morbid curiosity for sure. His sort of like he's that, and he's like kind of being a voyeur throughout this movie, and then he's also kind of got like a hero complex, like he's gonna save everybody. Kind of. See, that's why I really liked this movie.
It's like a hero complex, but it's also like I feel like he feels like things should be a certain way because he's coming from like this nice, happy, fake America.
So the very first couple images we see in the film is like a guy riding on a fire truck in slow motion, waving directly at the camera. And it's very much like, welcome to this, like, welcome to suburbia,
Welcome to beautiful, idyllic, small town America.
Yes. And I think, the reason why I liked this movie a lot is because I found myself connecting with Jeffrey quite a bit. And like this movie so embodies that feeling I had, and I feel like a lot of young men have when they're in like college or in high school, and they're sort of like thinking that it's now their turn to be the adult in the room and be the hero, sort of.
Yeah.
And so there's like sort of like misgivings a lot. Like, so like he feels like he can solve this mystery that, he's kind of stumbled upon, him being just like a kid in college, right? He's like 20 years old.
Just a little baby McLaughlin.
Yeah, and he doesn't go to the cops. He like he's like, yeah, I think I can do this, and he like breaks and enters. But it's his second thought.
Yeah,
he's like he's gonna. And to me, there was something like if this had been like a man in his 50s doing this, I would have been like, oh dear, this guy's an idiot. But because he was like 20 and like young, I don't know. And so like to me, it's like this movie was all around these themes of like loss of innocence and like sort of understanding your bigger sort of realizing that you're not the main character in reality,
What?
And I don't know. That's just
I definitely didn't get that, obviously.
So I read a great quote by Brad Dourif, who's plays one of the characters in this film. He says, "Blue Velvet is a story about innocence and the impossibility of it."
Ooh.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
I have another quote.
Uh-huh.
This is from Reddit user Deleted. Blue Velvet is the story of a young psychopath who breaks into a woman's house and quickly realizes that some much better psychopaths are already preying on her. I thought that was a very funny description of the movie.
Also accurate.
I mean, I think you're. I think
it's not.
I think you're right, and I also think that unfortunately, if you are a young man raised in America, you dabbled in being a psychopath at some point because people
guaranteed
because of all of the mixed messages. And so that's what I found a little bit relatable was this, like, I was like, oh yeah, like, yeah, because there is a moment, and now we're going to get into spoiler town. Because in order for me to make my point, I need to kind of...
Wait, how'd we get to spoiler town?
How'd we get to spoiler town?
Yeah.
Well, we hopped in the car and we put the spoiler on the back. We put our egg salad sandwich on the dashboard, and it was 90 degrees. And we got in the car and we just drove, man. We just drove and drove and drove until that egg salad sandwich just spoiled away. How's that?
Perfect.
Is that how we got there?
Yeah. Beautiful.
Anyways, no. So at the very end, he sort of like comes to understand, I think, this is what I read, like the consequences of his actions in not like a large way, but like when Isabella Rossellini's character shows up after he's had his date with Laura Dern, where he tells her he loves her, and she's like completely naked, and then she's like, she admits that they had sex together. I was like, I don't know, I just it was that moment. him realizing, like, getting caught on this and realizing that, like, oh yeah, like, I'm not the hero, like, realizing his, like, mistake, his error, like, not that he didn't before, but being confronted with it. And then later, after more stuff goes down, he goes to Isabella Rossellini's apartment, and there are the two dead guys. Well, one dead guy and one, like, almost dead guy.
Zombie guy?
Zombie guy. That was just bizarre. And he walks in and he, like, just stops and is like, you know what? I'm going to let them find you.
I really liked that
To me,
line.
was sort of him, that was that moment of sort of, like, him actually realizing, like, his place in the world a little bit better. Do you know what I mean? It was like
I don't have to do this.
I don't have to do this. I'm actually not the person who should be doing this. And, like, a lot of, like, imagery and, like, you know, I'm raising a young boy, two young boys, one who is at the age where he is watching a lot of television with, like, heroes and things. And so when we, like, play things together, it's like he's always like, I got to be the hero, I got to be the savior and all this stuff. And I'm always like, well, no, you know,
You can just be a guy.
you could just be a guy, you know, like, it's a lot of, like, hey, what if these, like, right now Jack's favorite thing is to go, like, hey Dad, what's if a lion was fighting Pikachu, who would win? And I'd be like, probably Pikachu, because he's got superpowers. So, and he's like, okay, what's if Pikachu versus Godzilla? I'm like, oh, bud, probably.
That's Godzilla.
I mean, Godzilla is a lot bigger than Pikachu. Oh, okay. Well, what about? It's like, okay. I can't keep doing these, you know. So I don't know.
What about a Charizard versus Godzilla?
Charizard versus Godzilla. Still Godzilla.
I mean, Charizard's a little bit. I guess it depends on the Godzilla.
Yeah. Yeah, and this
OG Godzilla. I don't. think you
Godzilla
have
is a lot
chance.
bigger than Charizard. You know.
Well, so if you're watching like Shin Godzilla,
Mhm.
like the first two forms, I feel like Charizard would have at least a chance.
Maybe, but the first two forms were in water, you know, and Charizard's
third
a
form.
fire Pokemon.
All right, we're getting in the weeds on this one.
Is that what this is? Is this the weeds?
Yeah,
Dude, this is where I live my life, Craig.
But
I
anyways,
know.
so I found myself really liking sort of what this movie was saying, and I feel like the reason why I liked it so much is it felt like a perspective that I, as a millennial, haven't seen in modern movies, which is to say that, like, a lot of modern movies, when it portray men as I don't know where exactly I'm going with this, but I just felt like it was like this character was both a good guy and a bad guy.
Yeah, they put you in a box.
Yeah.
When you're watching, honestly, not even just modern movies. I feel like most movies,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
like the masculine character gets put into either box of hero, box of bad guy, or
Right.
box of like sad sack. that
Yeah.
needs a manic pixie dream girl to become hero.
Right. Or it's trying
Mhm.
so hard to sort of like blow up or like take the spotlight away from men. And, you know, not that there's anything wrong with that, but like you just don't see very many like movies that are sort of like with this like that are about the struggling identity of what it means to try and be a man who is both a good person but also like makes bad mistakes and then also I don't know. I just felt like, oh yeah, this is a good movie. I'm gonna stop talking. Somebody else can talk.
I mean, you're right. I mean, Jeffrey, he's presented as this clean-cut, all-American kid.
Yeah.
Who's also, the flip side of the coin, kind of a creep.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Laura Dern calls it at the very beginning. She's like, I don't know if you're, what is it, a detective
or a pervert.
Right. And he's like, I'll let you know when I find out, or something like that. It's like,
No, it's like that's for me to know and you to find out.
yeah, that just sort of reminded
Which
me
is
of that Mike.
that's some yuck right there.
Yeah, it reminded me of the one Mike Brubiglia joke where he's like bringing up a mattress, and this lady's like, I can tell you're not a rapist because a rapist wouldn't have that mattress, which is an insane thing to say to a person. But what Mike Brubiglia said was, you'd be surprised. And then,
He's so funny. I love that guy.
yeah.
I think like his response to that is just kind of showing how
Immature he
kind of
is.
goofy and immature he is.
Yes.
Because I mean, there's like, have you ever seen the chicken walk before? Or
Yeah.
you know, Budweiser, king of the beers.
Yes.
Like, there's all these real hokey things, and I know like part of his personality is based on David Lynch and like the clothes he wears and kind of the setting, but yeah, there's
It's almost
He's
like
just-
a sorry, Greg. It's almost like a funny
Oh,
sort
no.
of subversion of your typical like cool, collected noir hero.
Yeah.
yeah, who they're both morally ambiguous,
Yeah.
but they don't act like Jeffrey at all. But the one thing I was thinking about when you guys were talking was, have you guys ever seen Pleasantville?
No.
Yeah. It's yeah.
But the whole thing is where they live in this idyllic 50s black and white universe and everything's perfect. But
And then
then
somebody
once you
masturbates a
start,
tree on fire.
and then once you
It's the only
start
part
learning
I
about the
remember.
real world, it turns into color. So it's like everyone in this world is, part of Lumberton. Most of the people that Jeffrey knows are black and white, and everyone's trying to avoid turning into color, but they can't help but be curious and tempted by it. Is becoming corrupted
And
by
to me,
this world.
yeah, that to me, it's like it is about that sort of world of the 50s, which was this like sort of right before like the 60s and the hippie movement occurred, which was like a lot of like people were. It was just like cognitive dissonance was like your reality constantly, where it was. A time when everybody was like, oh, you need a white picket fence. And, it's an idyllic sort of neighborhood with like a nuclear family and all these things where gay people aren't real yet. And slavery, black
Yeah.
people, what are those? Sort of like, la 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 la. While also at the same time, half those like fathers and husbands are like cheating on their wives and like being real big bastards. And so to me that's this movie, I felt very uniquely American in a way, in terms of how especially for us who have born, raised and living in the Midwest, where a lot of that is still kind of happening, where it's like still kind of in a lot of ways the 50s. We grew up in Heartland where the white flight was like real. Anyways,
Can I read another quote?
no.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Shit,
Yes.
okay. From the god Dennis Hopper himself.
Hmm.
It's about the schizophrenia of America. And if people allow themselves to relax and go with the film, I think they'll recognize a sort of collective nightmare.
Yeah, and his character
that-
truly is a nightmare.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
I did not know what was going to happen for any second to second when he was on screen. When he was on that nitrate, like when he was the guy from Quantum Leap was singing the Sandman song.
Yeah.
I was like, he's either going to violently make love to him or kill him. And then he did neither.
yeah.
So I
He
was-
started crying.
yeah.
Yeah, there was a third option we didn't realize.
I didn't realize that man was capable of. Yeah.
So Dennis Hopper, basically his career was done. He was so into alcohol and drugs. I mean, he went on, I forget if it was Letterman or who it was on, but he basically like, oh yeah, I was drinking 65 beers and like an obscene amount of liquor and cocaine to get myself back up. Like he was completely out of it. And so going to rehab for years, and then this and Hoosiers, and I forget the third film, but this was his comeback.
Cool.
And he uses some of that those experiences from going through withdrawal, and when you use certain drugs, this is what happens. So if you watch him during some of his scenes, like he'll shake his hands out like this, and that's because that's like he would see these shapes between his fingers when he was tripping. So he used those experiences for the film.
Oh, Craig, we don't
Yeah.
say tripping anymore. We say
Oh,
zooted.
sorry. Zooted.
He
Got
was
it.
zooted. Thank you.
I'm learning so much. This is great.
Yeah.
This is the worst recording
just trying to
experience
educate
I
the
think I've ever
masses,
had.
I've never
Um,
felt cooler by association.
I feel like Dennis Hopper in this.
Thank you.
To quote
Thank
Will,
you for
um,
pronouncing it correctly.
might be one of the most. I hate to just say unhinged again because I feel like I say that every episode. Might be one of the most unhinged characters I've ever seen in a film. Like Will, like you said, like every second I was like, I don't know what this guy's gonna do, and then he does something so horrible
Yeah.
and so uncomfortable to watch.
Yeah.
And then
the-
5 seconds later, he'll do the most hilarious thing you've ever seen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there's a lot to unpack with this character. There's definitely, like Will, like you said, like there's a clear something romantic or sexual between him and the guy from Quantum Leap's character.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't
And then
remember his
there's when they've got Jeffrey in the car, they go on the joyride, and then Jeffrey like punches him to stop him from was he just punching? Whatever he was doing.
name. Yeah.
He punches him, and they get him out of the car, and then he like puts on lipstick while somebody else is singing the song, and it's just like, and he's like beating him up, but there's such a like weird perverted tension
Yeah.
between him and everyone that he talks to.
Well, like he's taking the lyrics from In Dreams. He's like, "Do you know what a love letter is, fucker? It's a bullet from a gun. You receive a love letter from me, you're forever." Like, you can't forget anything this guy says because it's
Yeah.
so. Yeah, it's yeah. Oh man, what was I gonna say? Yeah, well, getting off his character for a second, I just liked the inverse of your typical noir film, where if you're watching those, you're trying to follow the plot. Like, the plot really matters. You have to know why this person is doing this and what is this person's motivation. That doesn't matter here. The mystery does not matter at all. It's about...
Because he figures out the mystery in like the first scene when he's in her apartment.
Yeah, he does. He figures it out like right
It's
away.
like, I figured out who the ear is.
Yeah.
I figured out who's got that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this woman is his wife. There's a son involved. This guy's the main bad guy. He figures everything out in like a 30-second time, or like a 4-minute, whatever it is. There's just like one scene. So yeah, it's just like, anyways, continue.
Yeah. So I think part of that too is, we don't need to know all these intricate details that are impossible to follow. This is about the characters, the people who are usually the things that would be on the fringes. You have all these noirs where it's very much implied, the sexual tension, double indemnity. This guy is willing to kill because he's lusting so much for this woman. All these movies that were made under the Hays Code, so they can't do anything explicitly. Everything is implied, everything is innuendo. And I think that's what makes this movie so unique, is you have things in the style of those 30s and 40s noir, but it's mixed in with those erotic thrillers from the 80s. And so kind of makes it something that modern audiences weren't quite ready for. I think this movie's been very influential to other movies that came after, but I can definitely see why people were a bit turned off.
Yeah. No, this is like, yeah.
You mentioned erotic thrillers. I prefer neurotic thrillers. There's one where it's a guy and he's just constantly stuck at a restaurant that he's never been to, and he has to order off the menu. And he's next in line, and there's a long line behind him.
Is this a movie you saw or just a real life experience?
That's every time I go to a restaurant.
That's every time I go to the restaurant. Yeah. Okay. We're learning so much.
I got an energy tonight, and I like it. It's good.
Okay.
So let's talk about Dorothy.
Do we have to?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So Dorothy is Isabella Rossellini's character, correct?
So Dorothy is Jeffrey finds out that she is being made to be a sex slave to Frank because Frank has her husband and son.
And because
kidnapped.
baby wants to I regretted immediately when I recorded that.
You love it.
But
Bill.
because I recorded it, it had to go out.
When
Okay.
will we ever use that again?
Oh, I'm deleting it as soon as this is over.
Yeah, it's pretty dark. So what's interesting about that scene and the scene leading up to, I thought, was like, so Kyle MacLachlan's character, Jeffrey, sneaks into this woman's house. I can't remember why because like he gets, because Laura Dern's character. By the way, I thought Laura Dern and Kyle MacLachlan had really great chemistry.
Yeah.
And two of the best chins in Hollywood.
In the biz.
Well, they were together after the movie.
Really?
Like they started dating, and then Lynch and Rossellini started a relationship.
Oh, really? Huh.
Huh.
The second one feels weirder.
Yeah.
I forgot what I was going to say.
Anyways, so Laura Dern's character's dad is a cop. She's overheard bits of case information. I don't think she knows 100% that it's related to his case,
Yeah.
but there's something about she tells Jeffrey about this apartment and this woman and some kind of trouble, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna just go into her apartment."
Yeah.
Is it connected? Does he know it's connected to the ear at that point?
No,
No,
Okay,
I don't
didn't think so.
He's
It's just like
Nah.
there's nothing
not
there's nothing
concrete.
bad happening in this town, so the two bad things have to be connected.
It's just
for
the
it.
next breadcrumb in the trail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he just
Okay.
goes over there and he hides in her closet because their whole ruse about, well, he does the dumbest thing you could ever do, which is he pees in the toilet of the house that he's just broken into. And so he misses.
So he flushes.
He flushes
and
the
Well,
can't
toilet.
hear the
he had a lot of
beeps.
beers.
This was before DNA, man.
Yeah.
It was fine back
Yeah.
then.
Still, though,
Ah,
I don't know.
Heineken.
That being that comfortable in someone else's house. Anyways. But yeah, no. So there's an interesting moment where she comes back. He's hiding in the closet. He watches her undress. Very much in his creepy. You're going, oh, so pervert, not the detective. We're learning. And then an interesting thing. I thought it was interesting because it is very much she finds him and then like starts sexually abusing him, right? Telling him to take his clothes off and all this stuff. And after she starts doing that, you know, suddenly this is when Dennis Hopper's character comes in. And so then Kyle MacLachlan's character goes back into the closet and he then witnesses Dennis Hopper's
Dennis
Frank.
Hopper.
Dennis Hopper's character assaults Isabella Rossellini's character, and I kind of was like, it was really dark to watch happen, and Dennis Hopper's character was
That is a challenging scene.
challenging
Very
scene,
graphic.
very graphic. Dennis Hopper's character is a maniac. And I read somewhere that he wanted David Lynch wanted the nitrous that he was like breathing in to be helium. So like the whole time Dennis Hopper had this like high squeaky voice. And I think Dennis Hopper was like, that might be a bridge too far. But I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was just sort of an interesting sort of like, oh yeah, like people who are traumatized are broken. You know what I mean? It was a good acknowledgement because like Isabella Rossellini does this awful thing of trying to sexually assault Kyle MacLachlan, and you realize like almost immediately that the reason why she's like this and doing kind of that is because her whole world has been spun out of control, and she is being victimized by this even worse person. So I don't know.
I think honestly, part of the reason that she's doing this to Jeffrey is just to regain any iota of control in her life.
Well, yeah,
She
exactly.
has none.
Yeah. Yeah, because she has none, and as the saying goes, hurt people hurt people. So I don't know. I thought that was an interesting, and sometimes you just like it feels like sometimes in movies you get sexual violence for sexual violence's sake, and you get sort of like bad things happening to women so men can have something to be angry about,
Yes.
And I feel like this wasn't really those two things as much. And I was even reading somewhere else about like it just like it's sort of like how it sort of mirrors the young man's psyche. Jeffrey, like these two characters are like almost like symbolically his parents, and so it's sort of about like domestic violence in a way. So I don't know. It was a lot more. I don't want to say it was tactfully done because it wasn't tactfully done, but it did feel like it was
a bit
thought
more
about
nuanced than it might be.
Yeah,
otherwise.
yeah. It thought about it was done not to be
Like
It
it's
wasn't
not just shock
exploitative.
value.
yeah. I also liked that it wasn't sexy at all. Dennis Hopper's character was a goofball the whole time, which I kind of was like, huh.
It was like genuinely so.
It was hard
Jack-
to watch for a
Jack
lot of
started
reasons.
this movie with me,
Yeah.
and shortly after that scene, she was like, "I think I'm out."
Yeah.
And I was like, "That's totally fair." And until discussing this movie with you
Yeah.
guys, I was kind of like, "I don't know where to put this."
Yeah.
And then now that we've been talking, it's a lot easier to. It's differently digesting now.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And
so too many scenes of
Yes.
assault are like played as sexy. That was horrifying to
Yeah.
watch. That was so uncomfortable and bad to watch.
And I would totally understand being a woman watching this movie and going like, I don't want to watch this. Why the hell would I watch this? And I'd be like, yeah that's valid. This feels this movie's it's the male gaze. It's like 90% of it. So like, I feel like it's an interesting movie for men to watch, but if women don't see anything of value inside of it, not that they couldn't, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. But I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, it feels to me it feels very uniquely young male American Midwest 50s sort of like, oh, I get how he made these terrible mistakes. Not that I would make them or agree with them, but like, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that's why I was so challenged by this.
Yeah, you
Because
don't like looking at that.
Yeah,
It's
and
not a
there's
fun
a part
thing
of
to
it,
look
like
at.
you were saying at the beginning, that does kind of resonate with like a younger version of myself, or
Right.
a younger version of anyone's self who grew up where we grew up.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the biggest takeaway here, is that it's like he's not saying it's good. He's not really even saying it's bad. He's just pointing it out
Yeah.
as like this is something.
Yeah. This is what was like, feels like
So
in a lot of ways.
not to jump to the end, and we can jump back.
We're getting
if
close.
there's other things. The end of the movie, and here's maybe not where I'm struggling the most, but something that, like, I guess for me, I find it really weird that after all of this, Laura Dern's, what is her name? Sandy?
Sandy.
That's
yeah.
it. I was gonna say Sandy, and I was like, no, that's not it. You're dumb. Sandy and
Two
Jeffrey
things can be true.
are thank you. Are still together.
Yeah.
And they're happy. And they're not royally f***ed up by this, at least as far as we see. Maybe that's the point, though. Now that I'm thinking about it, maybe that's the point, is that, like, we're not okay. Okay.
Do you see how it ended?
Okay.
Do you remember how it ended?
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So
No, I'm here.
It ends
You
with
got-
him.
I was not here, and
Yeah.
you guys brought me
Yeah.
all the way here.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think I'm here for this now.
Yeah. Yeah. It ends with Sandy and Jeffrey's character like taking part in the white picket fence, sort of glossed over version of, America, that suburbia that the beginning of the movie had. So yeah, I
There's
think in a lot of ways it's
there's
kind of like
that-
saying like, ooh, wait a minute,
How can you go back to that? And that's the whole point, is that you can't,
and no
but
one
we're
else
still
is.
doing it.
Yeah.
We're still trying to do it.
Yeah.
Oh man.
There's that
Yeah.
that I mean, when she talks about her dream, there's the flash of light and the robins come. There's when they
Yeah.
embrace, there's literally a flash of light as if everything's going back to normal. And then you have that really fake ass robin at the end.
That looked awful.
That was a good run. Guys.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Man.
I don't know if I've ever had such a big 180.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I didn't like. No, yeah, this went like a pretty big 180 for me.
Yeah,
You just got lynched, baby.
I just.
What?
Hey.
Oh, please take that sound clip out.
I regret nothing.
it was perfect. Wonderful. I'm honestly surprised it wasn't my foot in my mouth that said that.
Phil's gonna need a minute. I did want to talk about something else.
Was it the music?
We'll get into the technical stuff.
Okay.
So the scene where Dorothy shows up on the front lawn naked,
Mm-hmm.
that is from David Lynch's own life. When he was a small boy, him and his brother witnessed a nude woman just walking down the street, and she was crying, and it wasn't like, typically when you had like a young boy or a teenager sees a naked woman, you're titillated by it, but he knew there's something wrong, that this is not a good experience. So he was actually weeping because of it. So he took that experience and put it into the film. Zach, did you have something? No.
Nope.
Okay. So unfortunately, Ross Laney suffered pretty mightily because of this movie. She was dropped by her agency. Just everyone. What she's quoted saying is, if people liked the movie, it was all because of David Lynch. If they didn't, it had something to do with my character or myself. And for a long time, she blamed herself, like she wasn't playing it the ways that she was supposed to. So it took her a long time to kind of get over how people responded to this movie, which is really too bad, because I think she was really good in this.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah.
My favorite line. Actually, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to talk about the best lines. Real quick, sound design. Like the beginning, just the beginning, with the music, and this is why David Lynch is like, along with collaborators, of course, but he's a genius when it comes to evoking feelings. You have that beginning with the surreal, idyllic 50s, early 60s kind of white picket fence Americana, and then when the dad's watering the lawn, you can already sense something's wrong. Like the sound starts getting a little weird. You can see the water spraying out of the spigot, and then he has his heart attack or whatever it is, and then you slowly go underground and you see all the bugs underneath. You see the dirt, the dirty underground of this idyllic Americana, and just the sound that goes along with that. Like, because you could just show bugs, you're like, okay, but like the sound makes you uncomfortable hearing all the bugs just crawling over each other. So that's a very powerful opening. And the best transition ever is when the cop is talking to him about the ear getting cut off by scissors, and then the scissors cut the police tape.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
I had a visceral response to that. Even this time, I'm just like, no.
Now,
like
okay,
that.
I will contest you because I still think the best transition is Jurassic Park 2: The Lost World at the beginning with the mom screaming, but then it turns into the train riding by Ian Malcolm. That's my favorite transition. Yeah.
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 Sorry, favorite of this movie.
Yeah, well,
Oh, okay.
So back to this movie, I also liked it when Dennis Hopper was like, they were leaving. Ben was the character, the weird singing guy, drug dealers, whatever. I'm pretty sure he said something along the lines of like, "Oh, fuck anything that moves," and then he just snapped and disappeared. And then it cut to them driving, and I was like, "What the hell?" Like, he could teleport.
And that, yeah, if you've seen other David Lynch movies, that's not unusual at all.
Yeah, I kind of like love when filmmakers who like, you know, have a certain level of like talent do things that like are like considered like mistake. You know what I mean? Like a mistake or something like that. You know what I mean? Because then you like
unconventional.
Yeah, so unconventional and so like not something you would do because it almost seems like it makes you like
it breaks the rules almost.
It completely breaks the rules and actually breaks a bit of the immersion, which is why you don't do those sorts of things because movies like to keep the immersion because it makes you kind of just go like, why the hell would you do that? You know, like, why did you just do that thing that you should not do? You know, because it looks silly or it seems ridiculous. And I feel like 90% of David Lynch is sort of doing moves like that, where you're just sort of like, why would you do it that way? What a weird
90%
choice.
of David Lynch is just doing the things that no one else would ever do.
Yeah.
And that's why I love him.
Yeah.
Okay. Wait, Craig, did you have something to say?
No, I was just, nothing groundbreaking. So talk about the music, Phil.
Oh, it was really good.
Oh, great.
I actually didn't really have a lot specifically to say, but like lots of the music in this popped out at me as like really, really, really vibing and increasing the sort of uncomfortableness or vibe setting of the scenes, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
So, just another thing that was done goodly.
Much goodly.
I watched the behind the scenes, just like they had a special years after. And Isabella Ross lady was talking about how she's not a very good singer, and it took them quite a while for her to do the lounge singer scene. Like they had to kind of cobble it together to get it to work. And she had it. It was is it the music composer that's on the piano? Zach, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was really the only way they could get it to go, but it works so well too because that scene where Jeffrey notices that Frank's in the audience and Frank's holding the blue velvet close to him, and you can see that he's very emotionally responding to this. He is legitimately in love with this woman. He just has the worst fucking way of showing it.
He's got no game, basically.
Yeah.
He's got no riz.
Yep. No riz.
I really enjoyed that so like her singing was fine in the like actual cut of the movie, but it wasn't like absolutely, I wasn't sitting on the edge of my chair like this is the best singer I've ever heard.
She's a small town lounge singer.
It's exactly what I was going to say. Is I kind of enjoy that because if she was absolutely amazing, it probably wouldn't be in Lumberton.
Yeah, it wouldn't work. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was just another. I kind of enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the composer of this film is Angel Badalamenti, and I believe he worked on every single subsequent David Lynch project, with the exception of Inland Empire in 2010.
Wow.
Oh.
So this was the beginning of their relationship that lasted. I think he passed away maybe, 2 years ago.
Oh.
Wow.
So, did he do the music for Twin Peaks?
He did, yes.
Yeah, okay. Because I was listening to it, and I was like, "This is is this not the Twin Peaks intro or something? Yeah.
It's very similar. Yeah.
Yeah.
The similarities between this movie and Twin Peaks, which I just, for some reason, just noticed this last time I watched it. It's all over the place.
Yeah.
Like the through line
it's
from this to that.
Yeah. Like,
is
hell,
a straight line.
Kyle MacLachlan's character in this goes like, damn, I love Heineken. And that's almost exactly the same to like, damn, that's a fine cup of coffee.
Like saying things about the seedy American small city.
Heineken, yes, Pabst Blue Ribbon.
That's the one.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah, that's everyone at Michigan State College, every hipster I went out to a party with, that was them saying that to me. Anyways.
Yeah, it's definitely I appreciated Twin Peaks even more.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's one of those things where everything circles back on it. Watching this after finishing all of Twin Peaks, watching the revival of it. Yeah, there definitely feeds into each other.
I have a
Go ahead.
question.
Mm-hmm.
What's my next David Lynch entry? What do I try next? I can go weirder.
Have you watched Twin Peaks?
This is the first David Lynch thing I have ever watched.
Watch Twin Peaks.
Okay.
Watch Twin Peaks.
That's the one. If you want to watch a movie, if you're looking for something a little bit more conventional, I would probably go with something like The Elephant Man. Otherwise, I would go Mulholland Drive.
Okay.
Yeah. But Wild at Heart is Nick Cage.
Ooh, you know I'm a sucker for Cage.
Do you like Robert Rodriguez?
Zach? Yeah.
Phil?
Maybe.
Okay. Because if that's the case, then Wild at Heart would be the one for you.
I had to have Zach explain Mulholland Drive to me afterwards because I'm a big dummy. But also it's a little confusing. So just be aware it's a little higher of a.
It is, however, what you would call a vibe.
Yes.
I love a vibe.
All right, I think we're there.
Yeah.
So usually this is the point of the podcast where we give the movie a rating. So Zach, if you have a rating, we usually go out of 5, and then we say something funny. So why don't we have Craig go first? Craig, how'd you feel about this movie? Did you freeze? No, he's still there.
No, I'm still here. Yeah, I mean, I went a lot more into this, listening to podcasts about the movie, other people's interpretations, the background, some essays about it. So, I don't know if I'm any closer to understanding every single piece of this, because I think it's supposed to be a kind of a waking nightmare that you're supposed to be experiencing. But I still love this movie. So 5 out of 5. We said all the good lines, so I'm going to have to just do 5 out of 5 longest tongues.
Longest tongues?
Yeah,
oh,
he's
yeah,
like,
the boy. Yeah.
Yeah, the boy. He had the longest tongue I've ever seen. Whatever happened to him? He moved away. All my friends are gone. He goes for the goofiest thing. It's like, hey. And then he's like, goes really wistful. And then he's like, you ever seen the chicken walk before? And then he does that. It's so jarring.
I mean, that's exactly like what conversations when you're like,
yes,
we're getting to know each other. I can't think of anything to say. Yeah. What about you, Phil?
Oh boy.
Do you want to go next or no? I could go next if you want to hear me.
What, Craig? What did you give it?
5.
5 out of 5.
That makes sense. Well, what was your what was your 5 out of 5 like? What, your
Your
ratings.
scale.
Your scale. What was your 4 and your 5?
Oh, five is a movie that I feel like I have to tell people about and I want other people to see. 4
Okay.
is a movie that is good, but it's maybe not for me. That's how I usually did it.
Okay.
It's like, oh, this is a good movie, but I didn't really feel it. Like, like a lot of the, movies that aren't for me. And then I think I said 3 is, I can't remember now. I can't remember. It's been a long time since I went through and thought about it.
I think when we started this, I think I wasn't going to give it like a massive score.
Mm-hmm.
But then the more we talked about it, the more I was like, no, this is exactly like what I like. It was just very challenging to get through at times.
Mhm.
And I think for that, I'm going to give this a 4.5 out of 5. I looked for you in my closet tonight.
Phil, why'd you write down what I said to you?
Oh, I just thought everyone should know.
Okay. So I am going to give this movie. So I really did like this movie. This is a weird one because it is sort of like, I don't know if people should watch this if they're not ready to watch a movie like this. And if people hate this movie, I'm like, fair,
Yeah.
So I part of me is like wanting to be like giving it a score with like a bunch of asterisks next to it. But honestly, if I'm being honest, like it's a 5. That's a human ear, all right, out of 5. I just love the way he delivered that line. He's like, oh yeah. He's like, I have a human ear here. There's a human ear in this bag. That's a human ear, all right. Follow me. It's just like, wow, that cop's not fazed by anything.
One thing about the ear, I love that they made the decision to have a little bit of like hair on the top of it. Like it wasn't a clean cut.
Yeah, it's
like
gross.
this isn't just like an ear. It was a very gross cut off ear.
Yeah.
So I love that decision. I love that for him.
All right, Zach.
Like I said up top, I adore this movie. I'm giving it 5 canary yellow blazers out of 5.
Yeah.
That's a good jacket.
For a detective. Bold.
Right?
Bold. No one will notice me here.
Movies with my best friend.
So next week, we're going to continue on my journey of cosmic horror. This is one I have seen, but want to see again, and want to see you guys have reactions to. We're going to watch The Color Out of Space, specifically the one with Nick Cage.
Yeah,
I feel like you told us this was going to happen.
Yeah, you mentioned it a while ago, but you also watched it. Did you watch it a while ago?
Yeah.
And you mentioned it? Yeah, I think it was
a recommendation back when I watched it.
Cool. I'm excited. This came out recently, right?
2019, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty recent. I mean,
have you seen
5 years ago, if that's recent.
No, I haven't.
Well, too bad you're not going to watch it with us. No.
Wow.
Woof.
No, Zach, it has been lit having you here.
Nice.
I really wanted to agree with that sentiment, and then you had to say lit. No, but I do agree.
Well, it's been bussin'.
Oh, God.
This was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me, guys. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. So
we love you.
No,
I love you too.
Oh, all right.
Marry me.
I'll do my thing.
Okay.
Thank you for liking and subscribing to the podcast. We're on Instagram and Facebook. If you want to tell us who you think the characters from Blue Velvet, which Ninja Turtles they are.
Okay, I wish you had brought this up earlier. We can talk about this off pod.
Dennis Hopper?
Okay.
Michelangelo. Huh? Think about it.
Yeah.
He's a party dude.
Yeah,
He's a party
he likes
dude.
to party.
Yeah. So this episode was brought to you by Veronica Norland. Thanks, Veronica.
Oh!
If you want to hear your name shouted outed and would like to help support us, consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/mumbleandshrug.
If you like what you heard, consider leaving a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, or send us a dope TikTok. That's all for this episode. I'm Phil Kessel.
I'm Will Chotis.
I'm Greg Norland.
And I'm Zach.
And I'm Zach Demers.
Hey, you want to go for a ride?
No thanks.
No thanks. What does that mean?
I don't want to go
Go where?
for a ride.
A ride. Hell, that's a good idea.
There's that. That's the kind of like shit my grandpa. I was gonna say something, but now I won't.
Gonna stop recording.
Brought to you by Mumble and Shrug Productions.